dragon who couldn't puff. Once upon a time, there was a little dragon, and he was the sweetest little dragon you ever saw. He was just the size of your thumb, no larger. He looked as though he had been cut from a gleaming green crystal. He had pearly scales and a backbone of purple pointed spikes. His teeth were white and sharp. He was a lovely little specimen. His name was Grizzlin. Grizzlin lived in somebody's pencil case. He was a variety of house dragon. Perhaps you've never heard of house dragons. Not many people know about them, but they live in all sorts of places, in all sorts of houses, and are really quite common. They snuggle down in fruit bowls and flower vases, and at the back of bathroom drawers. They are invisible in the day and only come out at night, when the moon is 3/4 full and it's summertime. All the rest of the time being very lazy, uncomfortable little creatures. They like to spend sleeping whiskery, plump, chocolatey dreams of shiny quartz, tinkling stars, and zippy little motor cars. But this story happened one of those summer times when the moon was 3/4 full and Grizzlin was wide awake. The little dragon had slept well the last 9 months of the year and was in the mood to do something fun. He saw that all the bigger house dragons were extremely good at puffing fire and decided that he, too, would like to learn to puff like they did. Grizzlin's mother, Fairydale, was making herself a cup of hot chocolate in a bottle lid. She blew hot little puffs that made the mug glow. Grizzlin thought how nice it would be to make himself a hot chocolate. He curled up beside her and watched her for a while. He thought it looked easy enough. So when she flitted out to nibble the insects on the basil bushes, leaving the steamy mug on the windowsill, Grizzlin leaned forward and gave an experimental puff of his own. But nothing happened. Not a thing. He blew harder. A big blue flame burst out of his mouth and both nostrils. Oh no, his eyebrows caught on fire. Grizzlin's older sister, Mollymook, fell over her snout laughing. She had been watching from the drog bowl. Grizzlin blushed a deep shade of green. He flew into the kitchen and hid in the fridge for a while, putting his face into a jug of cream to cool it down. Eventually, there was a squeaking sound, and his mother poked her lovely little blue face through the refrigerator seal. "What are you doing here?" she asked him. "And why is your face all white?" Grizzlin was ashamed and didn't want to talk about it, but Mollymook had told her everything. "Don't be worried about what your sister says," said Grizzlin's mother. "Do you know what happened when Mollymook tried to blow fire the first time? She made a very rude noise. Everybody thought it was Grandpa." Grizzlin giggled. "But how do you puff?" he asked. "Well," said his mother, "you twist your lips up like this, and you imagine you're about to sing the first note of Happy Birthday. And you just kind of breathe out and trust that it will happen." Grizzlin tried. Nothing happened. "I don't want to do it anyway," he said. "Don't give up," said his mother. "If you give up, you know for sure that you will never do it." Grizzlin scowled. He didn't want to hear that. He had decided he wouldn't practice and he wouldn't. And so he didn't. And for all that time, he was a dragon without a puff. But one day, as the moon was growing fuller, Grizzlin looked at his watch and saw it would soon be winter. And soon he would have to go back to his long seasonal sleepy time with fancies of ice cream and bunnies to hold. wavelets of icicles. Shivery cold. Suddenly he thought how cold it was in the bottom of the potato bowl where he usually hibernated. Suddenly he thought how nice it would be to have nice hot water bottle. One that he could cuddle up with, and every time it got cold, just make a nice little puff and warm it up all over again. It wasn't anyone's birthday, but Grizzlin snuck into the baby's room and practiced his puff again and again. He knew no one would see him in the baby's room because all the house dragons were scared of humans, especially big bald ones with one big glistening tooth the same size as a grown house dragon. But Grizzlin was not afraid of the baby because she was little like he was and really a very nice little person. So Grizzlin snuggled between two teddy bears, and in the dark he puffed and puffed to the sound of baby snoring. All sorts of rude sounds came out. Big flames burst out untrammeled, and little squeaks and sparks. Baby heard none of it. Hours and hours passed. Grizzlin's forehead singed and his cheeks were aching, and finally he realized that he just couldn't learn to puff in one night. He'd need to practice much longer. The winter would come and he would have no hot water bottle this year. He would have to wait till next year and practice more, and it would only be after a lot more practice that he might just learn to puff. But it was really quite nice and warm. Grizzlin saw that even if he couldn't puff this winter, he'd found a cozy little bed. He tucked himself into Teddy's back seam and found his cozy place for the winter, and he'd just have to practice more next year. The end.